Welcome to the upstreamlife.com. I'm your founder and editor, Vishal Krishna. I love talking to great companies that have been around for a while, and I've tracked them from 2010. This is Simplilearn, and I've got the founder with me, Krishna. Hey, Krishna, how are you?
I'm good, Vishal, and thank you for having me here.
You know, for me, learning is so important because most of the kids in India try to do something with their lives. They spend so much on education. It happens globally.
Yeah.
And what are we going to discuss in the
So, Vishal,
platform
we are going
today?
to talk about my journey from 2010 to 2014. That's
Mhm.
been a long time. We're going to talk about India. We're going to talk about US. As you know, I recently relocated to US. I'm going to talk about the difference between the two markets that we see.
Mhm.
We'll also talk about a lot of news that is happening on my sector in general. And finally, we'll talk about what makes me excited about India, what makes me excited about US.
Of course, we're covering generative AI too. So enjoy
Yeah.
the podcast, guys. Thank you. Krishna, it's so wonderful to have you. It's been a good 5, 6 years since we've met, but we've known each other for 12 years. Ever since you started, I used to come all the way to HSR. Those days there were no cameras, but we talk big data, we talk cloud. So much has happened, and you're in the US now. So I wanted to just start there. Last 4 years, why move to the US?
So first of all, Vishal, thank you for having me here, and it's great to see that we are finally talking on a podcast and sharing the entire journey. So last 4 years, I think let's start from the COVID time. I think COVID was a big transformational period where a lot of things changed in our business, which is education. We already had a pretty good business before COVID, I must say. And during COVID, things got accelerated. I think people had more time. They were like saving a lot of time on commute. They also had less maybe options to do outside. So a lot of people decided that why not best use this time to learn something. So that was one moment of that drove a lot of adoption in our area, which is like skilling and higher education. We also saw a lot of interest on K-12 because kids parents wanted kids to have something to engage with. They do not wanted them to sit in front of TV and watch some entertainment. So
They're good parents.
yeah, they're good, and I think they also had their jobs to do. Right, if kids are constantly nagging them, how will they do their own job? Because jobs also moved completely online. So that was a big period that led to a lot of transformation, a lot of new interest in I'll say sectors within education that should not have attracted so much of capital, but people thought that maybe COVID is not going to get over ever, and that put that like
Adoption increased.
put a lot of money into some aspects of education business where we don't play in. And then it was like all the story that we have seen what has happened in last 4 years. It went through a real boom cycle, and then it also went through a bust
Yes.
cycle. So it does impact us because we also get broadly classified into the same sector. But I have always like told that we started 2010, so it's been almost 14 years for
14
us.
years.
When we started in 2010, there was no edtech. We started because we thought that there is a real need for people to have a platform where they can learn and grow in their career. So for us, our mission, nothing has changed for us. 10 years back also, it was the same concept that you want to learn something because you want to grow in your career and you want to like move faster than anybody else, and you have the aspiration. So you want something to like put your aspiration to work,
I
right?
agree with you. I mean, when you started this, I now you jog my memory back. I mean, it is 2010. Back then, when I met you, the whole aspect was okay. There are a whole bunch of people educated. Companies don't know how to invest in training. We can get them
Yeah.
up to speed, and that is the reason why it's important. It's also interesting. I would have never thought that K-12 would have been important. It became big in COVID. You say, does it continue to be important even today
So,
for
so
parents?
Vishal, if I look at my journey from 2010 to 2015, we raised multiple rounds of
Yes,
venture finance.
yes.
In fact, a lot of people don't know, but from 2010 to 2015, Simplilearn was the most invested VC company in education sector. And we thought about that K-12 sector multiple times. But I had this inherent belief that people want a certain goal to come online. Just learning for the sake of learning never existed in that sector. So test prep was a business, but just K-12 was not a business. So we never ventured into starting something
Hmm.
in that area. But our focus has not changed. It has become more global. We'll talk more
We'll
about it.
talk about it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So it's interesting. Okay, let's get in the K-12 in a bit, wait, because the
yeah,
business model is
yeah,
completely
yeah,
different there.
yeah,
But this is for graduates, mid-level managers, engineers in the mid-level who want to go into tech
yeah,
leadership,
yeah.
right? You moved to the US. For a good 13 years, you were in India, and you moved there recently. Why? Because it's a larger market you sell to. I have two questions there. Do you want to sell in the US so that the US teams say, Indian teams, please adopt Simplilearn? Or would you say there is also a B2C space there, which is huge, of a dollar value, very big, compared to other experiences in India?
So shall I want to just give you context that even
please.
in 2010 also Simplilearn had a lot of US business.
Correct. I
In
remember
fact, 2010 my 90% business was US, 10% was in India. During COVID time, India accelerated a lot. So India business became 40% of my total business, which was the highest that India has been for me ever. Now it's down to 30%. But 60% of my business is actually in the US, where we sell to consumers, and we also sell our solutions to companies, large American companies that you can relate to. So they buy our programs for their employees.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the area that we operate, what do we teach? We teach people AI.
Yes.
We started with project management. We still teach a lot of project management. We teach Scrum. We teach cybersecurity, AI, big data, data science, cloud. These are the same technologies that people use in India and the one that people use in US. There are nuances of how you approach them and teach the same topic, but essentially they are same topics. So by nature, we are always a global business, and hence we are doing more. I moved to US because we had a substantial business in US. Managing from India was becoming difficult for me. In 2022, which is 2 years back, we also did a large acquisition. We acquired one of our competitor, which are based out of New York. So that added a lot of full-time employees in US, and we thought that it might make sense for me to be based out of US, understand my customers, understand the region better. And I think 1 year fast forward, it has really helped us a lot in appreciating the market. We are now making a lot of changes in our product. We had a certain understanding of what product will sell in US, and our model for the longest time was that sell the same exact product in US and India like any other Silicon Valley company that you can think of. Like Google is same in US and India, same interface, same thing. So a lot of people get carried away with that thought that okay, that's the best approach.
I want to interject. I want to stick to these thoughts. You were right. Scrum, basic IT services languages.
Yeah.
They're very important. People talk about cloud migration. All three, I would say, is similar in the US and here.
Yeah.
How do you, now you said that it is different, that the packaging would be different.
Yeah.
What would be different?
Yeah. So I'll
set the context.
Yeah. So I'll tell you. So the essential technologies are same. So people want to learn AI in India also in the current context. People want to learn AI in US also.
Yes.
But there are a lot of nuances that we figured it out after staying there in US and really living living life like an American. See, once you go and travel and stay in a hotel, you don't realize how day-to-day life functions, because you're in a hotel. Everything is taken care of. You book a Uber and everything is seamless. But once you start living, you have to order groceries, you have to take care of your trash, you have to send kids to school, and then you have to manage them from this class to that class with your own routine. You start realizing that the different challenges that people have. You also appreciate cost of living better, because now you have a fixed salary and you want to manage your expenses in that. Whereas when you travel, there's always some kind of allowance, and you are thinking about, okay, as long as my allowance covers my cost, I don't care, and maybe more, right? So it's a very different perspective.
Mindset,
So what I realize is that in a typical Indian learner, they want a longer duration course, they want a deeper course. The tougher, deeper is better.
In India.
In India, we like anything to be like rigorous, and we don't mind putting a lot of time. People who are sincere.
And is it very master driven that the program manager, the guy giving the pedagogy, or the girl or guy, we look up to them saying, hey, this person knows the subject, hence the deeper knowledge?
They also want to spend more time, those who are sincere. And many times they want it. Whether they will complete it is a different issue.
Yes.
But I want everything with me, so that whenever I want, I can go back to it. This hoarding mentality is very evident in India. That,
I took a guitar class during COVID, okay? And you said it right. I wanted longer classes. And I mean, it is true. I was hoarding the content also.
And maybe you never used it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I bought $300 worth of content, and I would have probably completed $100 of it. I still have, but I have hoarded it, knowing that I will read it, I will do it sometime.
So this is very
interesting.
In US is just the opposite. US people want something shorter, crisper, something that they can learn and immediately sell it. So there the expectation is very clear that if I acquire this skill, I should be able to market the skill to get some incremental pay.
And they put it to use?
And they try. That's their goal. If they're not able to put it to incremental use, then they think that, okay, this is not waste of time. Now, when we started drilling it, we found a very different phenomena. See, many of my learners, why are they taking the program? They want to grow up in their career. And why they want to grow up in career? Because they hear that, okay, I'm doing some job, and if I learn this skill, maybe I can get a better job. Many people do 2-3 jobs at the same time.
Yes.
Because the full-time job in good established companies are less. There are also a lot of people who do all kinds of jobs. So a typical Simplilearn learner might have a day job that's paying him some amount of money. In evening, he's working as a waiter or doing Uber drive to make that additional money. So if or she is working, taking my course, that means they're not going and earning that additional money by working in a restaurant and driving Uber. So it's not only they're investing money on learning my course, they're also losing that opportunity of earning additional money. So for them, like if the course is 8-9 months long, like how we do it in India, they can't afford because they have to let go of their additional earning for so many months, right? So that's why they look for a short, focused course, and that's something that has an immediate marketability. That I acquire this certificate, I acquire this credential, write it in my resume, start applying for jobs. So that's one big change that we notice between India and US.
So you had to change your pricing accordingly?
Yeah, so we are right now, it's not 100% change because for the biggest time, our value proposition of Simplilearn was that we run global cohorts. We'll have learners from US, India, UK, all coming to a single class, trying to learn the same goal. We'll have an instructor, we'll have a teaching assistant. So not only you learn, you also network with people from all different parts of the world, because for a professional, along with the learning, networking is equally important. But now we're trying to figure it out that where to keep that particular promise, where a certain kind of audience coming, and where to like decouple that. India, I give this longer, deeper, more. The more you want to learn, the more will give you a opportunity to learn. US, we want to move to more shorter, crisper certification where people can first complete something, sell that by putting it on the resume, and then maybe come for the next course.
You said it right. When I landed in San Jose in 2016, I still remember that the guy who drove me to my apartment in San Jose, he was doing 3 jobs. He would do his 3 jobs at Uber in the morning. Then he'd get to work. He was working in an IT company, actually. He'd do his IT job till 5, then again do Uber, and then get home. It's a very interesting aspect. It doesn't happen in India.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in India. It's very common. Like when I traveled on business in US, I generally wear Simplilearn t-shirt while going on business trip also. And there are multiple incidents where the Uber driver is a Simplilearn student. They say that I'm doing this particular course
In the US?
In the US, it's very common. They'll say, okay, I'm doing this particular course on this platform. Do you work there? And then they'll start getting into conversation.
What are some of the insight that you got there?
Like this is one insight that a lot of people see. Who does Uber driving? Somebody who's not able to like meet their financials completely. While people say that I do it for interest, but reality is that if you're earning really $200,000 salary in US, you're not going to do Uber. But there are people who are maybe earning 60-70K, which is decent, basic salary, but not enough to feed a family of 4.
Yes.
So you're trying to make another $100 a day by maybe driving for.
If you're living in California, 50K.
There is no way. In California, even 100K is not enough.
Yeah.
So for those people, they want to make additional money. So since they are thinking of ways to make additional money, they also are thinking in US, how do I increase my per hour? See, in Uber, you make maybe $15 per hour.
Yeah.
At max, right? If you go to and work in a high-end restaurant as a waiter, maybe you can make even $30 an hour.
Yeah.
Tips are very good in high-end restaurants. But if you want to work $50-$60 an hour, you need to think about what more skill you can add. So that way, that learning to ROI is much more. It has to be very clear.
So if you take this cab driver example who worked in IT services, he's saying that if I take a certification, he will probably have to give up he'll give up the Uber job because his money will go up. Will it be that? What will be his typical thought process, typical age?
That's his goal. That let's say the project management job, right?
Okay. So he wants to get that 150K bracket, 200K bracket.
Or some bracket where he feels that, now I'm maybe. Okay. Or maybe he gets into a job. US, this hourly job also are very popular, right?
Yes.
So maybe in the current company itself, he puts additional hour more and gets paid maybe $50 an hour rather than doing a $15 an hour Uber. So that calculation that I want to do something that helps me get some additional income is very clear. They want to.
So your US customers are mature, little more mature.
And I'll say that's the phenomena about the whole country itself, because most kids, they start doing some kind of work at McDonald's while they're still in high school.
Absolutely.
Like when I go to Frisco and go to any of this QSR, most likely the kids who are serving are actually either high school student or they're maybe the
store associates are all college. First, here we call college, but 11th and 12th or 10th grade kids.
I think 11th onwards, I see this is a very common thing that people do. And many times they can't even afford. Like we think that they're doing out of interest and pocket money, but there are the social structure is such that they need to do it. It's not I'll saying a luxury. There is no choice for them but to go and earn and make their own money to maybe take care of even buying their own books.
I want to come to India in a bit because very interesting sociological aspects here. here probably parents are telling, okay, you work, you also, but I will fund you this part-time studies, and therefore they don't do part-time jobs. I don't know how India is. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll hold that out. I want to quickly get that New York company that you integrated. When you integrated that company, what were those courses that fit into the Simplilearn product portfolio? How's that working out for you?
Yeah. So, Vishal, when you look at our offerings, I will divide our learner persona into multiple categories. That's how we look at Simplilearn, and that's how there is one way of looking at it. I'm sure there are other ways of looking at it. There are people who want to get into tech, so they don't have a job. They have completed graduation and they're trying to get into tech jobs. That's one audience, first time job seekers. Then there are people who are already into job and they want to accelerate their growth. Entry and mid-level professionals, but they already have a job. It's not that they don't have a job. And then there's third category, people who are already very senior, executive leaders who wants to maybe get into a C-level role or a board level engagement. So these are three different very clear bucket that we have for our kind of offering. Simplilearn is very strong in the second bucket. You already have a job, you want to accelerate your growth by taking something that is more relevant. So you're a software developer, you want to get into AI, or you are an IT admin, you want to get into cybersecurity or cloud or DevOps. So that's our sweet spot. And this is what people know us globally, that you want to do something, we'll find on Simplilearn. Depending upon your budget, your time commitment, and your current area of interest, you can land something good. Simplilearn is not strong in this area. First-time job seekers, that you don't have a job, we'll help you get a job. This is the area that we've been trying to build for quite some time. We've done a lot of investment, but comparatively, we are still more strong here, mid area. This is the area that we are building on. Now, the same classification is applicable in US also. So this company that we bought, Full Stack Academy, they're very, very strong in the first-time job seeker market.
The fresh
So
graduates.
they are a I'll say the most premium bootcamp brand in US. They help people transition into tech. And US is again unique. US people don't want to transition into tech just because they are just freshers. People might be working for 40 years in one area. They want to learn tech and move into tech job. And this is completely acceptable in the market. So Full Stack does a lot of like direct to consumer business. People come and find our programs and sign up. They do a lot of veteran work. So US government has a lot of scheme wherein they fund veterans to switch from military to civilian jobs.
Correct.
So
because they want to reintegrate them in society.
And there are government schemes. So we are one of the largest veteran tech training company that we do. And then there are a lot of innovative companies, like one of the largest online retailer in the world. They have this scheme that if you come and join their warehouse and work for them for 2 years, they fund your training to get into tech. So after taking that training, you can get into their own tech team, or you can apply for tech jobs anywhere in the world and they will help you.
So you start off as a warehouse person, loading, unloading, but they funded your studies through your platform, and they can become managers, IT managers,
or developers. Not only in their company, any other company.
They'll place.
So that is their hiring strategy. They say that, okay, you can't afford to do education on your own. Come and join my warehouse and I'll fund your education. And then you get into my tech team or my business team or anywhere in the world.
Okay. You had that business in India, right? Fresh graduates, you've always allowed them to...
Now also fresh graduates take it and we do everything that we can do. But in India...
What is the strength that you want to do in the US through this platform? That you
so one is a very established brand. People resonate with that particular brand. And I must say that the way they train and the way they engage also is different. Like, for example, they have a huge team of what they call career success coaches. The moment you start learning the technology, they integrate the career success coach from that point itself. Understanding what are your pluses, what are your minuses, how can I help you build your resume, which are different places should I take you, how to go ahead and crack an interview. So that track goes in parallel while you're also learning the technology. Because it's not only about learning a technology, it's also about how do you present yourself so that you get hired. So that part of Full Stack Academy was very, very strong.
Fully integrated now?
It's not fully integrated.
It goes as Simplilearn?
No, it goes as Full Stack Academy. So keeping the brand as is.
So it's well known.
It's well known, yeah.
I like the veteran integration program that you guys do because it's a big election thing there also. In many ways, they talk about veterans.
And it's good business for because government pays.
Absolutely.
Government pays for the training, right?
Absolutely. I want to quickly complete the US segment. You have these MOOCs in the US. They're very popular. So much press they got. You'd sometimes been surprised yourself saying, hey, are people going to go there or not? Why is that just suddenly quietened down? I don't hear much about them. Whereas you've done well, you've combined blended B2B and B2C very well. What's happened there?
So I think when the MOOC started, this was a very, I'll say, great concept that you have all these learning available to you, and you can learn at any point of time at your own pace. It's free. So it was a new concept. It got attention, but it was like saying that okay, there are books kept everywhere, and everybody can become suddenly educated. That never happened, right? You need somebody who can teach you, guide you, and help you make sense of it. So that was the component that they're missing, and hence it didn't become as popular as they thought. But yeah, some of them are doing good. Like for example, Coursera continues to do pretty well.
How did you manage those shifts? I mean, at that time, like you said, till 2010 to 15, you were very VCable. But then those companies raised so much money. Did it ever worry you at the time as to what was going on? How did you stay the course and say that, look, I'll run this and make sure that it works?
So Vishal, I have a very different take on that. See, a lot of times this thought that, okay, you are a company, you have to raise money and you have to raise money again, you have to give exit. This are all external pressure.
Yes.
I don't look at my business that way. See, I have always liked being part of someone's growth journey. I enjoy this process. So I don't have any as such pressure on me that, okay, I've been doing this for so long. What next? A lot of people also ask me, what next? The question is, why should I do anything next? As long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, this is a way of life for me. See, what do? You become very successful. What do? You go and start a university. You go and give back. I'm doing that already day in day as part of my job. So why should I think about anything? Now, there are financial investors, they can't think that way. They have a definite start and they have to go and exit the money. So the way I look at it, that I had earlier investors, they came into Simplilearn, they made money, they're very happy about it. Now a new investor has come into the business. They'll also exit at some point in time. Whether I will exit or not, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll never exit. I'll have investors coming in, going out, and that's about it. Today there's X investor, tomorrow there will be Y investors, but the business will continue to grow.
See, we stick to your principles. You said that this is how I'm going to solve it.
And we're learning. See, I want to learn from my customers. What do they like? When I went to US, I realized that, okay, the same product will not work. So we are in a war footing changing that particular product to make sure that it is aligned with what my customers want. We are primarily a consumer platform. Now we're doing a lot of B2B. So we are there in many large companies. So there also we're learning a lot of new models and responding to that model by launching product that's suitable. Like for example, recently we launched a product called Simplilearn Learning Hub Plus. What it does is that we do thousands of classes on Simplilearn platform, starting from Java to AI to cybersecurity to Scrum. Name a topic, there is an instructor-led online class happening on Simplilearn platform. We created a subscription out of it, and we're offering to our B2B customers saying that give the one license to your employee and let your employee learn from an expert anything that they want to do through the year at a very, very reasonable price. We are getting huge adoption from companies saying that now there is no need for them to create a sizable size of their own employees to ask an instructor and come and teach, because you can't get an instructor and come teach.
So these are pre-trained modules?
No, it's not pre-trained. See, for our direct to consumer business, we start multiple classes every month. Now, every class is not full to capacity. You might be having 20 students in a class. Class can take up to 30 students.
Correct.
So we have many such classes going on at every point of time. So we are offering that subscription to our B2B customers, saying that let's say you have an employee. Let's take any company. They have an employee. That employee was working on a Java project.
Yes.
Now next they have to work on a cloud and cybersecurity
cloud
project.
Migration is huge. Yes.
So so company has to organize a cloud training or give them some MOOC video or organize instructor-led training. Now if that is the only guy who needs to learn, it's not practically feasible for a company to get an instructor only for that. If they have a Simplilearn Learning Hub Plus subscription, I have multiple cyber classes going on.
Just so they have a calendar.
They have a calendar.
It's like a calendar of courses. They can choose, hey, Vishal, this is happening at this time, go take it.
Got it. And talk to the instructor live. And all our courses are hands-on projects. So not only you go and learn from an instructor.
So is this live in the US?
Yeah, it's live. This is doing very well. Like we see huge adoption. Some of the largest banks have adopted our product because they find it very seamless. And now I don't have to do the logistic of saying, okay, you want to get trained from an expert. You don't have to get an expert. You don't have to create a minimum size because these classes are already running. They are also more hands-on. So you don't have to like download anything and install anything, because our courses come with what we call sandbox. You want to learn cybersecurity, there is a cybersecurity sandbox as part of the platform itself. You want to learn Java coding is compiler and the ID is already integrated. So you can run, deploy your code, everything you can do on the platform itself.
Does anybody say that, look, you've recorded all these videos or courses, can we just have a package of these videos?
So we do that, but we don't see a lot of value, because these things just change so fast. Like AI today versus AI 3 months down the line is completely changed. Right? A lot of new things have come up. That's our value add, that we teach you what you need today, not what was it like digital marketing. Like 2 year digital marketing is totally different.
By the way,
right?
your 10-hour course on digital marketing is available for free on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I forward that to everybody who comes and tries to sell me digital marketing. I've seen that course. It's
I've
free.
seen a lot of VCs who say that, okay, I went through a digital marketing course. It was excellent. I learned a lot. Why should I pay you? I said, we don't pay us. Somebody else will pay. Don't worry about it. See, we are happy that
That's
you
a good
learned.
way to build
Yeah.
community.
I mean, we are happy that you learned. See, that I was giving an example that every 2 minutes, there is a learner who shares a Simplilearn certificate on LinkedIn
Yeah.
every 2 minutes. These are all free courses. So you just search Simplilearn skill up on LinkedIn. You'll say people say, okay, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this. They'll share our certificate. It's also creating a kind of a brand recall, right?
Correct.
That, okay, people are.
I remember in 2010 you had physical centers also for train. I mean, that was the time. I mean,
From 2010 to not 2011 to 2015 we had.
So yes, so would that work in the US? I mean, a lot of people want to go out now and learn also.
This is a very different model. I'm sure some people will prefer that, but
in the US,
right,
not
even
yet.
in India also. I'm sure India also some people will prefer that, but we are not into that model. See, what happens is that if you want to
getting the instructor, then getting
it's
people
not
to
about
come.
instructor. See, you need to optimize your process. Why did we come out of it? See, in 2015, we had this challenge that you can learn our courses by watching video. That's one model. Coming to our offline center, second model. And what we currently do, instructor-led, virtual, online. Now, everything requires a lot of optimization around it. And you can't do everything. Like some of this edtech companies who started online and they suddenly said they will start so many centers. Look at what is happening to them.
Became like a retail.
But look at what is happening to them.
Wash out.
They are also like most of them. You can't beat somebody who does only that because they have their entire process optimized around that.
Yeah, I wanted to always ask you. I mean, in the US, it's so funny that you drew out these differences. That the market there is about mid-level guys trying to go up, and they probably want to learn online. There is it device led also? Do they learn on the phone or tab or how?
Tab or computer. Mobile they can watch the video, but if they want to do hands-on, like because we are not a theoretical training provider, we want to help you acquire skills that you can apply somewhere. So that means you also need to practice while you learn. So practice and all becoming on tab and mobile becomes important. I want to share with you one more observation between US and India that you'll find it surprising. In my observation, a typical American is poorer than a typical Indian.
That I agree.
Because they can't survive without a job even for a week.
I agree. It's a very because they don't even have savings. That's so
they don't even have our housemates have a native village where they can go and stay for a couple of months without.
It's all in debt. Yeah,
and they don't have a house. So where do they go?
So they have to work hard. Yeah. We spoke about US in detail. Fantastic thoughts, and I agree with you that that's such a difficult market. Not in terms of business, it's lucrative, but the people there do jobs and study at the same time, and they want to move ahead of. The Indian context, we're very young as a nation, 28, 29. Krishna, you did physical centers in the past, and after 15, completely online. What are some of the Indian experiences? How have we evolved? Let's not date ourselves. We are still young. But what's been happening for the Indian mid-level manager, Indian graduate, and do you want to do a C-suite kind of program here as well?
Yeah. So, Vishal, if I look at the India in the last, I'll say 10 years, I think it has changed a lot. One good thing that has happened is that aspiration has become very high. People are now thinking more global. If you look at that kind of audience, right? Earlier, getting into a top company used to be an aspiration for all this, students coming out of our colleges. But now it has moved to starting their own startup or working for another top startup. So all these are good development for sure. And I also believe that if I look at this world has become even more connected. Post-COVID, working remotely has become a norm. So if you work remotely from Bangalore versus you work somewhere else in the world, there's hardly any difference except the time zone, right? And a lot of people in India are very comfortable adjusting their time zone if they get the flexibility. So I believe that jobs are going to go where talent is. So it's like really a responsibility for us as a country to build a lot of talent. But the challenge in talent in our country is that if you have experience, there are a lot of jobs. People are trying to poach from each other. But when it comes to like building talent, there's not that kind of effort going on. People are not investing.
Let's break it down. There's colleges. In the old days, companies invested, IT services guys invested in training for 6 months, but they're all under pressure. Like you said, there's global pressure to say, why do you have to train them? Why? So who takes the responsibility? How is that funnel for you?
So I think, that's what we see, that now IT services companies are also under immense pressure to like maintain their margin. So they have investors. So even though the revenue is not growing because of the current market scenarios, all of them are trying to optimize their costs so that at least they can show growth on their profitability. And that means that they can't invest the like old time a lot of effort in in training their like fresh hires. There's also another phenomenon also. For earlier, a Indian company going and pitching their IT services offering to a global customer, the global customer could compare that, okay, my pricing here in Western world is X, and in the Eastern world is Y, and the X and Y difference is huge. So it doesn't make sense for me. They're okay to say that, okay, get started, and companies had enough margin to invest on 6 months kind of training and waiting people to get ready. Now, what is happening? There are so many IT services companies that the two companies are going and pitching the same thing to the same customer. So they have also become like this whole competitive, saying that, okay, two companies of similar size and scale are offering the same service to me at a price difference. Why shouldn't I go with the lower one? Now, how is one guy able to lower their cost, because they are not investing in this kind of
And it's the
training
same talent moving here and there.
moving here and there. So I think
Yeah.
now this budget
That's
government
very
has done something to
yeah.
encourage, but I'm not sure how sufficient it is. But I think some kind of intervention is needed for building talent at scale. I think that is not happening as much as we would like. A lot of people are talking about GCC, that thousands
Yeah.
of new GCs are coming
Yeah.
up. How many GCs are investing in building talent? My sense is that majority of the GCC are trying to poach talent from IT services or other GCC. So we need some kind of scheme. Like in UK, there is a scheme called apprenticeship,
I've
where
seen
there's
that,
a
yes.
proper
Like our
government.
ITI.
Yeah. So how do we build that kind of skill? Yeah, I think that's like really required. I think government is trying, but maybe something else can also be done to expedite their journey.
No, it's not true. I think it's the need of the hour. I think ITI focused mainly on hardware
Yeah.
and manufacturing. If you did something like ITI for software, say you're a 10th pass, but you could do a 3-year kind of software, a generative AI, blockchain, I think we can really change the dynamics there, no?
Yeah, or look at our engineering college.
Yeah.
We have so many engineering
Many.
schools. Can they be mandated that you need to work with some identified, like some kind of identified institutions who are going to teach them something that is current, something that is required, that's something that you can apply on work, right? How do you induct more hands-on practical training to people coming out
Yeah.
of these colleges, so that they can become employable?
You have to answer this. Many years ago, now it suddenly flashed my memory. You and me discussed that the doctors have done well in this country because they go and work from day one
Correct.
in college,
Correct.
right? How can we do that for the engineering thing? Which is what we spoke about then also,
Yeah.
10 years ago. Has that changed? That's not happened, actually. It's
Yeah,
not happened at all.
it has not happened.
So what should we do? What is the, if we do that, is are these colleges then accountable to make sure that people are employable? Are companies responsible to hire? Is there a need? I don't know what is the existential
let's say
problem?
theoretically you do something similar.
Yeah.
If you are
Okay.
running an engineering
Yeah.
school, unless you have some potential employers
Mhm.
where your students have a free access to go
Mhm.
spend some time and work on something, you don't get a license to run engineering school.
Wow, that'd
That's
be
all.
good.
That
It
means
solves the
every
purpose.
let's say the large company like Infosys can support maybe 50 such
Yeah.
engineering school. Saying that for all these
Yeah,
few
yeah.
thousand people, I allow them access to somebody who's working in Infosys to mentor them, guide them, maybe also give them some work.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
will solve the problem. But now we have way too much supply, and the challenge is because there are way too much supply. See, engineering in our country became like doing yet another graduation.
Yeah, it's become
You
that
can do
way.
a BCom, you can do a BA arts, you can do a engineering. It's all same, right? It was so easy to get it, and a lot of kids who are getting it because their parents want them to get it. They have no interest. So that also is also adding to this challenge.
No, and it's a big challenge, and that's where you guys come in, right? That look, there's a piece here missing, that nobody wants to train somebody, and the kids can now actually go apply and Simplilearn and certify themselves. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, so there also there is a challenge, Vishal. See,
What
I
is the
see that
challenge?
if you go to an engineering school, whether you learn it or not, you get a degree. And people think that, okay, my money and time spent is worth it. I spent 4 years, I got a piece of paper which is supposedly a accredited degree that I can say that I am a graduate from so and so college. When people come to platforms like Simplilearn, they want to pay money to take up a course, and without learning the course, the second day itself they want to get a job, saying
Yeah.
that, okay, I paid money and now give me a job. So 4 years you spent somewhere, you got no outcome,
So there's no
and in
ROI.
6 months you're expecting some magic to happen. It's not going to happen, right? So there is always this mismatch. So that's why we of course we do set expectations, say that we'll do everything possible, but there's no way that somebody can give you a job just because you sign up for a program, right? There's a lot of things that go in for you to get a job.
Suddenly again, my memory jogs back, and there was this Telugu meme, comedy thing, where this guy says, as a father says, okay, I'm going to give 60 lakhs to this guy for 4 years. after 60 lakhs, okay, will you get into a Google or Microsoft? Okay, so average salary package will be 30 lakhs. I'll get that money back in 2 years, and then I can get this guy married in the third year or something.
Yeah.
That doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't work that way. I mean, there's no ROI. Immediately, you won't get a 30 lakh package, I'm sure, a lot of the engineers.
Yeah, if you go to top school, obviously, then your spend also is less, and you can maybe get more also.
If you go to a top school.
Yeah. But if you go to like
A normal
college where everybody else can get in, then your average pay will be 3.5 lakhs. What most IT services companies pay, and you'll never be able to return that money if you add interest on the money that is spent on you, right?
So how do we fix this? India is a very interesting, complex problem. We have so many young people. We have about 2 million engineering graduates every year. But again, I still hear people say that only 10% or 200K people are employable or lower. I don't know.
So I think the first thing that we need to do is that shut down a lot of these institutions which are not
Again, going back to your license.
Yeah, like shut it down, right? You want to like license a tech sector with a lot of discussion happening. First, fix what you already license.
Yes.
Because all these are not, you can't start engineering college out of nowhere, right? You have to go through a certain system, get approval.
Yeah.
So if they are not producing outcome, then how come they are still continuing to operate?
And how do we get more funny practical situation, because they say that there'll be 3,000 GCCs coming into India, and each of these GCCs will be 5,000 in size. It's a talent pool required is very huge.
I think maybe the GCCs should combine together and create some kind of training fund to say that, okay, we'll fund and we'll only hire from that particular. Like, for example, we have tried talking to many companies saying that, look, you always hire. Why don't we go to the market with this promise that we will go and recruit students from the market. Students will pay for the course.
Yes.
But once they get placed in your company successfully, you reimburse their money back. People are not open because nobody wants to take that risk. Saying that what is the risk? You specify your input requirement. Okay, I only take graduate. I only take 50% marks. All the criteria will meet. Only induct them in our training program. Train them as per your requirement. But at the end of the training, you at least interview them, and if they crack successfully the job into you, you reimburse the cost of those students, right? It can be such a great model. Frankly, we have tried convincing a lot of companies, but companies are somehow, they are not they don't want to.
So it's like a NASCOM or a TIE or a high speed, something, a body like that.
NASCOM also the challenge is that who does NASCOM represent?
Yeah, I think it's startups and government and companies.
NASCOM represents IT companies.
IT companies, yes, absolutely.
Not the employees of IT.
Absolutely, you got it
not
right.
The students.
IT
so why would they think about students?
Yeah.
So many times when the government also engages with NASCOM, saying that, okay, IT means NASCOM. Let's talk to NASCOM. But then whose interests are you taking care of? You are taking care of the interests of the companies, not the people who are unemployed, not even the employees of the companies working in this company. Because see, sometimes the interest might be aligned between a company and the employee. Sometimes the interest might not be aligned. Like, for example, let's say if you look at an IT company, that's a real challenge. It's not about ethics. It's like a real business challenge, because if you don't do, somebody else will do. Let's say there are people in IT companies who are of a certain age. They are not upskilling themselves. They are becoming, their skills are not in requirement. Why would company not replace you and get younger talent at a cheaper cost? They are not there for social service. If a company starts to do social service, they will be out of business.
Yeah.
And it will impact even more jobs than the current jobs that are impacted. Right. So some of those dynamics also is very difficult. It's not there's no easy answer.
So India is a tough market at this point.
See, we have a huge population. We have less jobs. So definitely we have a challenge. So we need to do something about this job creation. And I think that this whole IT opportunity is a real opportunity for us. Why would not the entire world IT work happen in India? The way manufacturing happened, that at some point in time, a lot of manufacturing moved to like, look at the semiconductor. 90% of the semiconductor that US uses is done by one company in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Imagine that's kind of dependency they had. Why can't we do that in IT? The entire world IT will happen to us. We have manpower, we have English speaking population, but somehow we are not able to build that talent at a scale that is required. And that would require a lot. Like we are doing our, like, for example, a lot of students who come out of the colleges, their challenge is that their parents say that I paid you for 4 years of education. Now I want me to pay again for training. What were you doing this 4 years? They're justified in asking the question. So you see a lot of students contact us saying that we can't afford your training. So okay, there's go to Skill Up, it's free. And we see, as I was mentioning,
a lot of free programs.
Like 35,000 students complete our program every month. 150,000 sign up. So 1.5 lakh people sign up. 35,000 complete every month. We're very proud that we are supporting this audience. But I don't think that alone is not sufficient.
Yeah, you were right. So India has everything in pieces. Yeah. There's no bridge connecting these things, right? I mean, it's dangerous at some point in time.
There's no real, I'll say, I don't know if there's one real central agency that is responsible for creating job, because there are departments, right? Maybe there's textile manufacturing thinking about textile job, IT minister thinking about IT job. But how do we fix it at a national level is what we need to think. Like another thing is that, say, if you look at India versus China, there's a big gap in our economy. When you talk about all the nationalistic, say, you'll say something will happen to China, will take care of China. How?
Yeah,
You just telling alone is not sufficient. They are 18 trillion. So finally, economy is a power.
Yeah.
But we can also motivate the entire country saying that we are at 4 million, they are at 18 million, we are at 4 trillion, they are at 18 trillion. Why can't we make this journey of 4 to 18? What is the difference between them versus us? This can be a big motivational factor that let's work towards that goal. Let's be a destination IT that think of tech, think of India. Every job is happening here.
Absolutely. I agree with you in the fact that not many people don't know that you also do tech and you also do marketing courses.
Yeah. So we do courses. The way we look at Simplilearn is that if there are skill gap challenges in areas where there's a lot of growth, we play into that. Now, tech is powering everything. Marketing is completely powered by tech now. Marketing, project management, cyber security, actual software development, all that is powered by technology, and that's where there's a lot of skill gap. So we identify areas where there's skill gap, build programs, and help people move into this high-paying jobs.
Do you see India has a good manufacturing base? Do you see I mean, most of them are going through digital transformation. They say Industry 4.0. Do you see that as something that you want to get into?
Frankly, I have seen some interest by companies saying that, okay, let's build some IoT programs, some semiconductor program. But the way we have done our research, we have not seen enough job. But we are thinking about it. Like some of these IITs have also contacted us saying that, okay, why don't you build some IoT program together? So we are right now evaluating, but I don't think it's like ready to launch in next
quick
month
summary on a India perspective. Where do you see this country heading?
So first, I am very excited about the future of India.
Young population, we're all excited.
Only reason is because of young population. So there is no substitute to real sheer human will. Whatever be the challenge, if there is a will, you will find a way out. And since we have such a large young population, there are enough people who have the will to say that I'm going to be successful, come what may. That is what is going to drive the country. For sure.
It's funny, some strands of the US are happening. I keep meeting these Swiggy guys. Now we order, it's so easy to order things now. The kids actually come and say, I'm doing this because I'm also studying BCom. I'm also studying engineering. I want to do this because it pays for certain certificate programs. That's an interesting model happening.
That's a great model. In fact, one thing that maybe companies like Swiggy and Zomato should try, which is happening actually in the US. The example that I gave you, that come and join my warehouse, and I'll fund you. Why if Zomato is successful and profitable, the way they can fund saying that, okay, if you work for X amount of time in Zomato,
I'll fund your education for your IT.
I'll fund you. I'll give you a voucher on Simplilearn and go and do a course, and maybe that helps you get a job within Zomato itself or maybe somewhere else. That can be.
Have you tried selling like this?
I think we have not done. So we are doing a lot of such kind of selling in US because US, most companies have this kind of scheme, right? From the likes of Disney to Walmart to Amazon, most of them have this scheme. So and that's where I
think companies should do this in India. It's a great idea. I hope these guys are watching it. And when I put it on LinkedIn, I hope they contact Simplilearn. But that's one. I mean, you're right. Not just one Simplilearn can change it. But then again, the negativity that's happening for training and education and is so much suddenly. And sometimes I wake up and I find the same news. Why did that happen?
See, if you look at most of the color is also happening because of one particular company where maybe the value was sold far ahead of the reality. And frankly, this happens at all the sectors. There are enough and more examples in the US and any other country also where investors invested in a sector where the promise was way higher and eventual return was lesser. So it's not unique from that perspective. In fact, that has happened in payment also in our own country.
Correct.
People invested so much of money, they have not got any return and exited at much lower value. So that is one part that is driving. And in general, if you see this negativity that there are less jobs, there are more graduates. So people need somewhere to vent their frustration somewhere.
Right? They are overvalued.
I think it depends on sector to sector. Right now, if you look at in the stock market,
it's doing very well.
I think there is overvalued in my personal. If I had cash, maybe I'll wait for some more time before deploying that money. But this is what people have been thinking for the last 6 months, and it's only going up and up.
Going up and up. It really, I'm scared sometimes. I've got some stocks. So it's interesting when you see all this as a leader and you see India as an opportunity, and obviously US will continue to drive a lot of the business from abroad India. I get scared sometimes. Are we becoming expensive as well in terms of talent? And do you get those questions?
I think, Vishal, I'll agree to it. And if you look at countries like China that we have the closest for us to benchmark, they actually artificially control the labor price
Pricing, yeah.
to become ensure that they are competitive. Now they can do it because they're not a democratic setup. You can't do it, right? So there's always a cost of democracy, right? And I think I personally at any point of time I'm okay for a lower growth,
Yeah.
but I want my democracy.
Got it.
I'm sure a lot of people in India.
So you're saying India will figure it out. I agree.
See, we might take more time, but the fact that we are in a young country will figure it out. We'll definitely move from here. Right?
But I like those points that we need to have something meaningful where companies train people, and it need not be a lot of money to, but give them jobs. That's important. And do you think just jobs also mean innovation? We also harp on innovation these days. Is India being innovative? Do you get those questions asked about Indian engineering?
If you look at the entire engineering talent, not everybody has to do the most high-end job.
Absolutely.
There will be all kinds of jobs.
Absolutely. You said Scrum.
Yeah.
Cloud migration.
These are not going to go away, right?
Java.
We still have people working on COBOL. So somebody has to maintain them.
Those old mainframes.
They're still there. They're still there. It will take maybe a year. People are now saying that no, now with AI, the entire thing can happen faster. Let's see.
I didn't want to bring that in, but since you brought it up, generative AI, you also, because when I open your website, that's the first thing that shows up and everybody's talking about it. Where is that impacting us?
Actually, one, for business, it is good because we see huge interest in people taking generative AI programs. We are selling a lot of programs, but in reality, also we are using it. I'll give you the two use cases where we're really
internally using it.
One is marketing content. Like we used to write a lot of articles around topics.
Absolutely. Low-end writing jobs are over. You can use ChatGPT to write. Or any
so it's making making my content writers more productive because you can get the first version and then update it on top of it. That's one area that we do. The second area where we're using it very effectively is that every course I told you we have a hands-on project. So we will have to do those projects. Now those projects were actually earlier graded by our teaching assistants. They'll go through the project and then they'll say, okay, how is the project? So maybe they'll get a very short comment saying that, okay, this project is good, or pass as well. Now machine is doing a proper analysis of the project and giving a very detailed
feedback. So it's measuring me as an individual technical
and giving you a very detailed feedback that this part of the code was correct. This you could have written in this particular way.
Isn't that something you can sell to B2B?
So we are selling that. So the learning has become much more personalized. Rather than some person just looking at your code and giving you a very small generic feedback, now we're able to give you much more.
And these are not dumb bots that.
No, these are so we're continuously working on improving it. That how can generative AI can go deep into your analysis of what you have produced and give you a very detailed, actionable feedback.
So how big is tech for you now?
Team was I think about 70-80 people.
Tech, and the whole organization.
About 1,500 people.
Okay, and it's mostly in India.
About 150 in the US.
150 in the US, and mostly sales and marketing, of course.
Across the team.
Even tech there?
Yeah, tech.
What kind of tech are you investing in apart from Gen AI?
I think there's an ongoing innovation happening on our mobile app, ongoing innovation happening on how do I make my learning completion higher. So across the board, right from my front end on how do I communicate my value proposition is stronger. How do I offer completion rate to my learners? How do I make my backend more stronger so that I can get, if there are, let's say, 50 students in the same cohort, which are the students I need to focus on?
Got it.
Which are the students are already self-starter, I don't have to do anything.
Got it. On a personal level, you worked hard for 14 years. A lot of money came in, of course. Do you think with the large private equity company coming in, did it give you some ease in terms of saying, look, I've done something? That my company has done something. Did that happen? Or do you still go and hustle that I have to build this to the next level?
Tushar, I think this is a personal choice. See, before starting Simplilearn itself, I had sold my previous company to a listed player, right? So financially, I don't think the finance.
So you were secure.
I was secure even before starting Simplilearn. I think it's a bigger platform now because of the private equity that we have signed up is one of the largest private equity in the world. So it's giving us a bigger platform to do this work. I'll be very happy. I think what gives me more drive, if you can be an Indian company which is operating at a global scale and recognized as the number one destination to go for professional upskilling. I think that will be the bigger driver than anything else. And that's a long journey for us. So I think that keeps me always motivated.
No, which is great. And I have to, I think the podcast summarizes it. You're as driven as you are in 2010. And I really wish you all the success in the US and, bring many more good stories. But I can't let you go without asking you. I've never asked you this, so I'm asking you. What have you been reading or what have you been inspired by? It can be something from the past and present also.
So, Vishali, when we spoke last time, I think you had also asked me this question.
Which,
that who's
about
your
the
favorite-
books.
Yeah,
About the books.
Yeah.
But what has inspired you?
So I think I get inspired by a lot of small thing. I not always look for a one big inspiration. I get inspired by, like yesterday I was talking to one of my learners. She was on our office.
Somebody who's been
learner.
around for a
She
long
was
time.
she was a lady where two kids, had a parents to take
Oh,
care
this
of.
is a learner, not an employee.
Yeah.
Okay.
She had two kids, had a parents to take care of, and she also runs an NGO. And how she finds time to upskill and do something that she wants to do professionally. So even small such things also inspire that there are all kinds of successes all around us. It's just that we need to find and spend some time and see what are the challenges that they are operating in. It need not be one big challenge that, okay, I looked at this particular person and I'm very inspired by their story. There's inspiration everywhere. I personally read a lot of autobiographies.
Yeah.
That gives
Now
me-
I remember. In
yeah.
17, you had told me about some autobiographies.
Yeah, I read a lot of them. Like I had read one autobiography earlier also. In fact, I'll not say only autobiography. I also read history of a lot of companies and a lot of organizations, right?
Okay.
So one of
Anything you'd recommend?
so one thing that I had read earlier, and in fact I was traveling last 2-3 days, and I just picked up that book again because I wanted to get myself reminded. Is a book called Innovation Stack. So in that book is written by the guy who was the founder of this payment app called Square.
Okay.
So they build a
Square
small
is
hardware.
Yes.
So they plug with a mobile device, and now it
I've
becomes a
used-
payment. Yeah.
The Square was very popular in the US.
Yeah. So the story was that when Square launched this particular venture, Amazon got into the same venture, copying exactly what
Same thing,
they have
yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And they had access to every merchant that you can think of. They had all the powers in the world, and Amazon is known to be a very ruthless, best
business,
executor.
Yes.
So they got into their business, copied their model, everything they copied. 1 year down the line, Amazon exited that business, sent a letter to Square, also gave a list of all their customers saying that take over this customer. So the book is that what happened in 1 year, that the company which has so much of resources, had every reason to win, ends up losing to a Square and handing over the business to them. So that was a very interesting read, that where they talk about is that it's not one big
It's
bang
called the
innovation.
innovation stack.
It's called innovation stack. That there are small things incrementally add up together to make you a winner. It's not one big idea that people think that, like look at it back home in India, Infosys, TCS, Cognizant
years,
started
man.
at the same time, but
Yeah.
there are hundreds of them who also started at the same time. But these three become winner.
Yeah.
That's something different. Look at Infosys and Wipro. When I started my career in 1999, Wipro was a bigger company than Infosys.
Right.
20 years down the line, Wipro is less than half the size of Infosys.
Yeah.
So there's something
That's changed. And it's true. I think in that case, because I've covered both the companies, I think the branding and the customer service.
So a lot of small things. If you look at very high level, they are same. There are large companies, they do IT services, application management, to cloud migration, to BPO.
Similar.
Everything they do.
Yeah.
All look same. But there is something internally.
Is it the selling? Would you say it's because of the selling? The way you
Not
sell
necessarily.
your product?
What that book says is that there are multiple small things. See, if I'm as a company, I'm doing something good. You are my competitor. You get to know what I'm doing good. You'll try to copy. However great you are, you can't copy as is.
It's not in your DNA.
So let's say you copy at 80% efficiency. Then I'm doing another something good. You copy that also with 80% efficiency. And then I'm third thing. So let's say there are 3 things that I do well, and you copied all the 3 things at a 80% efficiency. So what is happening? 0.8 into 0.8 into 0.8.
Yeah.
So you are, by copying 3 things, you become 50% as efficient as me. If I have 10 such things, then you are only 10% efficient as me. So it's not going to work.
Logically, it's not going to work. So that's a book that I'm going to check out. And family inspires you. Do you take time off at all?
I take time off. Yeah. I believe that if you are doing something for long term, it has to be a balanced life. So I think I'm no complaints. I'm only happy about my life.
No, that's how it should be. You should be happy. And this is Simplilearn, the yellow and blue. Is it yellow and blue?
Yes. Is it yellow?
It is yellow and blue. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you.
Thank you, Vishal.